Joining me today is Dr. Charles Regalado. Dr. Regalado has been practicing dentistry in the state of Washington for more than 20 years. And Dr. Regalado, not easy to assess your own bad breath. Usually someone else has to tell you, and it can be embarrassing, but it is quite common. You see this a lot?
Yeah, I think that makes me laugh because I think you'd be fortunate if somebody told you. You'd have that'd be a pretty good friend.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with bad breath, you're usually the topic of conversation after you leave the room. So, yeah, nobody likes it. Not a fun thing to have.
People are probably offering you mints and gums on a regular basis. That's your clue that you have bad breath.
It's a good clue.
It's called halitosis. How common is this for people to have?
Well, certainly there's temporary varieties, of course, caused by foods and things like that. We could get into that subject. And then there's also systemic problems. Some people will have just chronic stomach illnesses, chronic sinus and throat diseases, or some kind of an inflammation or process going on there where the bacteria are thriving, and that's going to come out, of course, in your breath. But the good news is, by and large, I would say every adult at one time or another has it, and I would say maybe about 20–25% of the people have some real systemic issues, or even less, have systemic issues that cause it. And the good news is it's controllable for the vast majority of us.
Does this have anything to do with how often you brush your teeth?
Oh, it has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that might be going on in your mouth that you're not aware of. Frankly, one of them might be maybe bad dentistry. You know, you've got to have good dentistry, smooth dentistry. You've got a lot of areas where bacteria can catch and get underneath a crown or a filling, and you might brush and floss and you can totally miss it. Some people, I should say, a lot of people will have a crown, for instance, and there's decay going on underneath that crown and they don't even know it. And so they can't figure out why their breath smells bad. And so those are certainly factors that are going on. So yeah, having a clean mouth and regular checkups is a big first step.
Tobacco, alcohol, and we've talked about this before, periodontal disease, gum disease can be a reason why you may have that.
Yeah, I will say it again, tobacco is a killer when it comes to not only your teeth, your gums, the bone, but that constant drying effect with the nicotine in your mouth is just creates a haven for bacteria, and it's just not going to go away. And the alcohol itself has a drying effect. Dry mouth is another huge factor when it comes to how your breath smells.
What is dry mouth?
Well, dry mouth is, unfortunately, when your saliva just slows down. Morning breath is a good example. You get the morning, breath isn't the freshest in the morning. We all know that. That's because the saliva flow drops down to practically nothing. And so because of that, the bacteria just like to grow in that environment. It's perfect for them. And some people, of course, with medications, dries their mouth. With blood pressure medication, for instance, is a good example of that. So it's a good idea to check with your doctor to see if some kind of a change can be made.
So are you saying if you drink more water or you have a very moist palate that you're less likely to have bad breath?
Yeah, because the saliva or even drinking water is going to have a constant flushing effect. That's absolutely correct. However, people with dry mouth that leads to the halitosis that we're talking about, they're going to find that they're going to need a little bit more than that.
Are these things like the mints, the sprays, the gums, are they masking agents? Are they doing anything really?
Yeah, most of them are just masking agents. They certainly taste good and they seem to be doing an effective job. But as you said earlier, we're the worst judges of how it really smells. So you pop a mint in, you think you're great, but it may not be doing the job. However, there are some products out there that actually do eliminate the odors in a better way because the bacteria are producing excrement, to put it bluntly, all the time. And part of that are these sulfuric compounds. Now, we're familiar with sulfur, the rotten egg smell. Especially with periodontal disease, under the gum, you're going to get a lot of that. So there are agents that will actually break apart these sulfur compounds, and so they're doing more than just masking.
People swear by using mouthwash to get rid of bad breath, but in mouthwash is alcohol.
Yeah, and I don't really like that, frankly. It gives a good tingly feel, and In my opinion, it burns too much, so I just frankly don't like it. And not only that, alcohol dries your mouth, the things we were talking about. So in one way, it's a very temporary. You're going to go out and meet somebody real quick and you'd have to just say something. Okay, you're going to propose, that's fine. But after that, if you want really long-term, stay away from the alcohol-containing ones and get some of these mouth rinses that don't contain it and that break up those sulfur compounds.
So in a couple of bullet points here, how to cure bad breath. What's the takeaway on this?
Well, I think the word is out there more, so this may not be a big surprise to people, but the tongue is probably the #1 reason for bad breath, besides, if you had periodontal disease. And people don't brush the tongue or scrape the tongue. So my recommendation is to get a tongue scraper. I don't want people to use their toothbrush per se, because I want that for the teeth. And not only that, most brushes don't quite have the texture and the stiffness to really get a good cleaning job on your tongue. So there are tongue scrapers. You can get them from your dentist. You can get them in stores. And the real good tip is you got to make sure you grab that tip of that tongue, pull it forward, use that scraper. There's some big structures way in the back. They're very large, and they just trap a lot of bacteria and food debris. So you got to get back there and use a tongue scraper, and you will probably find your breath improving by about 60–70% just by doing that.
Dr. Regalado, thanks very much.
All right, you're welcome.